Many of you have probably moved from one state to another at some point, and you may have hired a moving company to help take your belongings across state lines.
But what do you do if you show up at your new home and your movers and all your stuff nowhere to be found? Several people told Live 5 Investigates that that's exactly what happened to them. As
Summer Huechtker reports, the feds are now getting involved.
So I was, contacted by a bunch of different companies. But I just ended up with Landmark, and that was a bad choice.
Melissa Swanson and her young son moved from Georgia to South Carolina. She says she hired Landmark movers to transport her belongings from the Peach State to the Palmetto State. That was 2 months ago.
They were supposed to come, I believe, between like the hours of 10 and 1. They didn't show up till about 9:30 at night.
Melissa says the movers picked up her items from her Georgia home, but never brought them to South Carolina.
Where do you think your things are right now?
I mean, right now, I don't know. But there was such miscommunication. Like, I thought when they left my house late that night, I thought they were going to drive the 3 hours because it was only 3 hours away to my new house. But they're like, oh, no, we're not going to come until tomorrow.
But tomorrow came and went. Melissa says her stuff and her son's belongings never arrived.
He had cars and trucks and planes and, everything is just gone. And all his clothes, all my clothes, and he's got to go to school. So we had to buy a whole bunch of new clothes for him. Can't keep wearing the same thing every day.
Live 5 Investigates first told you about the company earlier this month after we were contacted by a Somerville woman named Julie Sanchez. She told us that she paid Landmark more than $6,000 to move her stuff to California, but it never arrived. Julie has since been in touch with the FBI. A special agent from the Bureau told her over email that there is a federal investigation involving Landmark. He wrote that they are overwhelmed by the number of victims and that they are doing everything they can to bring those responsible to justice.
My gosh, put them out of business. This is federal offenses. They're crossing state lines. Why aren't these guys arrested?
They had two office addresses, one from Sarasota, Florida, and one from Georgia.
Diana Laparena is a dentist in Puerto Rico. She says she also hired Landmark to help her son get his belongings from Alabama to Michigan, but his stuff never arrived.
They have the money, they have our stuff, and we can't get, a hold of them.
The Better Business Bureau says they haven't been able to reach Landmark either, and they gave them an F rating.
In this particular case of Landmark movers in that file, this company had 9 complaints recently filed that they did not respond or answer the complaints when we sent them from the Better Business Bureau.
So what can you do to try to avoid problems when you are hiring movers? Well, the BBB created this report last year. It's called Know Your Mover. In it, the group recommends that before you hire a moving company, don't just search online. Get estimates from 3 moving companies and try to do that in person before you give them any money. Be careful if movers try to have you pay a lot of money up front, and make sure to get a cost estimate based on the weight of your items. The Know Your Mover report also mentions that the federal agency that regulates moving companies might need more resources and enforcement authority to prevent issues with movers from continuing to happen.
Anytime there's a large volume of complaints in the industry, we always like to see agencies step up their game in enforcing regulations and laws or taking action against bad actors in that industry.
Meanwhile, Melissa Swanson says that for her and her son, this situation with Landmark has all been a nightmare.
Yeah, it's horrible for me, in-laws, a bunch of stuff, but that's a kid, innocent kid.
Summer Huechtker, Live 5 News.
If you're looking to hire a moving company, you can find all of the Better Business Bureau's recommendations on what you need to know on our website, live5news.com.
And as always, if you have a tip for Live 5 Investigates, call the number you see right there on your screen. You can also send an email to tips@live5news.com.
Now.